let me introduce to you the person with us today. To my left, the producer, one of the producers of the film, Sky Schuler-Weiss. The co-producer and costume designer extraordinaire, Catherine Martin. To the other side of the table, Patrick McCormick, one of the producers. Next to him, Gail Berman, one of the producers also. Next to her is the actress, Olivia De Jong. And ladies and gentlemen, Elvis is in the building, Austin Butler.
Austin.
We have here Alton Mason, sorry.
Looking ridiculously cool.
The Colonel Tom Hanks. And for once, we're going to ask this gentleman to do a little less action, but a little more conversation. Monsieur le réalisateur, Baz Luhrmann. All right, guys, we're going to start the press con very soon, but I want to start by what happened yesterday after the screening. I mean, it was crazy. Baz, this emotion that you felt, how can you describe it?
Well, you know, like I said yesterday, when I made my first film and we were dropped by the distributor with one cinema, Cannes saved our cinematic life. And I think standing there amongst that emotion was for our film, because our film is made for one thing and one thing only, to bring audiences into the theatre. It is a theatrical film. We meant to make it theatrical. And I think that ovation was as much for the film as it was for the idea of cinema, of the theatre. And I was in a theatre full of love for cinema. Yeah, it meant the world. And Cannes, I think, has saved us once again. That's what I think.
Let's, if you don't mind, continue with you, Baz. Very simple question, at the same time very complicated. Why Elvis?
Well, you know, I'm a great admirer of when Shakespeare takes a historical figure but explores a larger idea, you know? And also one of my favorite films growing up was Milos Forman's Amadeus. Historical figure, but
Elvis.
Well, you know, I'm a great admirer of when Shakespeare takes a historical figure but explores a larger idea, you know? And also one of my favorite films growing up was Milos Forman's Amadeus. Now, is Amadeus really about Mozart? Is it about Mozart? Or is it about jealousy between Salieri and Mozart, and him saying, God, I did everything right, and you put all that talent in that horrible, grotesque person?
All right, let's get the flow going. Let's feel the music. And for nothing else, we're going to talk about Uncle Jesse's favorite artist of all time. But the fact is, I can't think about Elvis without thinking about Stamos. And that's on Truebill. Just sniff that out. Common biopic. It's a cautionary tale. So let's talk about it. So Elvis is a new film. It's a biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann. It's funny because Baz Luhrmann films for me, they can be hit and miss. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I really like the angle, the energy, I like what he was going for. It landed with me. Other times, it kind of falls flat. Elvis is one of those films that the style and what Baz Luhrmann was going for in execution was really good. First of all, the title, you're like, yeah, Baz Luhrmann directed that all right. And if we take one scene in particular, you saw it in the trailer, but Elvis just belts it out, you know, when he's moving. We've seen Elvis footage, and, you know, it's easy to see Elvis footage. Like, all right, that was a big deal back in the day. But we're coming from our eyes now, you know that it's a big deal, but it's knowing and understanding. The energy that Baz Luhrmann brings to this movie and the scenes where Elvis is just moving and all the women are just going crazy in the audience. It's like Baz Luhrmann takes you to school in that way. You know, you can have two different teachers for the same subject, and one teacher can tell you everything, and it just doesn't land, and the other teacher just illustrates it to the class in a way where it just clicks.
Okay.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. When it comes to website, and hey, you guys know me, I was thinking the same thing. But then you look a little closer and you see that it's directed by Baz Luhrmann. You think to yourself, well, at least that little freak's involved. I mean, Baz Luhrmann is a bit of a hit or miss for me personally. I loved his Romeo and Juliet, but really couldn't buy into his Great Gatsby or his Moulin Rouge. Maybe I should just revisit them. But if anyone is going to take a figure like Elvis and do the musical biopic thing that really serves its subject justice, it's him. And boy, oh boy, did we digital zoom into Austin Butler's eye. His eye turns into a Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel turns into a record. And by that point, you're like, what the heck is going on? Baz Luhrmann movies are like if someone used every tool that they offer in Final Cut Pro all in one movie. And the thing is, I have mixed feelings about that style here. On one hand, it does deliver in being full of energy and glamour. You always get a sense that Elvis is a figure larger than life, and the direction, even in Elvis's early days, was a sense of power. Rather than trying to break off from the cliches that come with a musical biopic, Baz leans into them. Like with newspaper headlines and whatnot, Baz keeps them, but plays with the VFX to make them seem like a collage, giving them a one-of-a-kind feeling. And when it comes to Elvis's manic fangirls, one of the most iconic parts about his career, Baz captures their excitement and cooped up emotions so nicely. Anytime in the movie when Elvis starts doing his usual thing and elicits this sort of hype from the crowd, it is just electric. The people are coming in their seats. Definitely absurd, but it works. I mean, I do appreciate a musical biopic that actually pays close attention to the world response to the artist. That doesn't feel like a memorable aspect of any previous biopics we've seen, and it's an essential part of understanding Elvis here. And all that said, on the other hand, the style does get really exhausting after a while. It's the classic case of getting too much of a good thing. It's something that's gotten in the way with every Baz Luhrmann film for me. For the first 30 minutes, take my breath away, but once it starts to wear off, it becomes just plain exhausting, which is especially the case here because after the first 30 minutes, once things do start to wear off, you realize there is still over 2 hours of movie left, and you're like, oh brother. Pace-wise, it just feels tiring after a while, especially because his career was such an emotional roller coaster, and you never really have a grasp on where you could be time-wise. I mean, that's just the price you pay with maximalist filmmaking, and this one unfortunately does not come out avoiding that. Now,
Okay. That's not wrong.
Just in case we need that movie.
Okay. First time hearing Elvis Presley bullshit. That's absolute horseshit. Like, come on, first time. I don't mean to be mean, but like, come on. Not even in other movies. Do you not watch any media at all?
press the print screen button and the screenshot is copied to your clipboard. Press the Windows key plus print screen. Go to Pictures, and then Screenshots.
You know, and also one of my favorite films growing up was Milos Forman's Amadeus. Now, is Amadeus really about Mozart? Is it about Mozart? Or is it about jealousy between Salieri and Mozart, and him saying, God, I did everything right, and you put all that talent in that horrible, grotesque person? It's about jealousy. And I wanted to take Elvis's life and really respect him and his fans and the love people have for that character, but also show that it's an exploration of America in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the relationship between the cell and the art. It's the show and the business, you know, the snowman and the showman. So that's what the big idea really is. But on the way there, on the research, on the living in the South, on being embraced by Graceland, and on a whole journey, I learned about Elvis Elvis the person in the most unexpected way. That will stay with me all my life. When you can think one thing about someone and come out the other end and realize something completely different.
Let's talk with the snowman and the showman. Tom, you have never been afraid of ambiguous character. You have never been afraid of gray, shade of gray in the way you play your characters. This one needed that. This one needed totally to be on the border of the good and bad, or the border of what makes a good friend and an enemy. It's how do you play that? How do you play this ambiguity?
I am a professional.
Yes, you are, sir.
I am paid to put on different people's clothes and pretend to be somebody else. Turn it into I pay the rent, so I feel lucky. I must owe all of this to this man, Baz Luhrmann. He came and sat down with me. All I knew was Baz Luhrmann would like to talk to you about Elvis. And I thought, well, that would be a waste of time. But when he came in, he said there would have been no Elvis without Colonel Tom Parker. There would have been no Colonel Tom Parker without Elvis. It was a symbiotic relationship. I did not know what Colonel Tom Parker looked like. I had never heard his voice. I thought he would be a symbiotic relationship. I did not know what without Elvis. It was a symbiotic relationship. I did not know what Colonel Tom Parker looked like. I had never heard his voice. I thought he would be a tall, stentorian guy in a hat full of bombast, and instead he turned out to be this rather ingenious imp of the carnival who seemed to enjoy robbing a little kid out of an extra 25 cents for a photograph of Elvis just as much as he enjoyed robbing a casino in Las Vegas out of $25 million. It was the same exact pleasure that he got. Exchange. Baz talked about the Colonel as this great carny, knowing that the carny's job is to bring people to the glittering lights on the outside of town, promise them something they've never experienced before, and then almost giving it to them at a cost. And when he said that, I think the conversation lasted 7 minutes until I said, I'm your man. Now, please show me a picture of what the Colonel looks like. Then he showed me, and I thought, oh, my God, what have I done?
True story. True story.
The showman now. Austin, very simple. What does it take to become Elvis and to play Elvis?
A lot of work. I basically put the rest of my life on pause for 2 years, and I just absorbed everything that I possibly could, and I just went down the rabbit hole of obsession, and I broke down his life into periods of time where I could hear the differences in how his voice changed over the years and how his movement changed over the years, and I spent 2 years studying and trying to find his humanity as much as I could through that. Because that's the tricky thing is you see Elvis as this icon or as the wallpaper of society, and finding the way to strip all that away and find the very human nature of him that was deeper than all of that. That's what was fascinating for me, and the ability to get to explore that was just the joy of my life, for sure.
Olivia, it's a question that all the actors could answer, but do you feel that we all have our own vision of the Elvis story and the people who were around him? And do you feel that there is a responsibility first to the people that live the story and to us because we have our own vision of it?
Could you please repeat that question one more time?
The responsibility to the world of Baz is visually crazy. I mean, we like all of them, everyone.
Really?
I'm leaving.
But what does that mean for you guys as actors?
I think it's a super big pleasure being a part of his world because it's so powerful. I think it's a super big pleasure being a part of his world because it's so powerful, and it's so spiritual and it's gravitating and ascending. So when I first met Baz, it's kind of like I got sucked into that vortex, and I think as an actor you should surrender to it, surrender to that feeling. I grew up in Arizona, and I have a soul tie to the southern state because I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana on my dad's side. So